The NATO Secretary-General says Ukraine's potential membership will be high on the agenda when leaders meet for a summit in July. Jens Stoltenberg is on his first visit to Ukraine since Russia invaded last year. He met with President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, who reiterated his wish for fast-tracked membership. The Kremlin says preventing Ukraine from joining the military alliance is one of the key goals of the invasion. We can go live now to Charles Stratford. He's live for us from Kyiv. So we've got some warm words coming in, Charles, from Jens Stoltenberg. Is that matched with warm policy?
Well, certainly it matches with what Zelenskyy would like. Zelenskyy has repeatedly asked for NATO membership. And according to Stoltenberg and the NATO allies, it's way too early to realistically start talking about that. Let's not forget that one of the prerequisites for joining NATO is that there be no border conflicts happening in a country that is applying for membership, and certainly no international conflict happening anywhere near it. And of course, we've got both that happening now in Ukraine. We've already had reaction from Moscow, as you mentioned. Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesperson, saying that one of the goals of what Russia describes this invasion as being, Russia's special operation in Ukraine, was to prevent Ukraine joining NATO. And it's widely understood that indeed back in 2014, the annexation by Russia of the Crimean Peninsula and indeed Russia's support for so-called separatists in the Donbass region was all to do with scuppering that plan. But it seems as if, seriously, that Zelenskyy's words are being taken seriously by Jens Stoltenberg and Ukraine's NATO partners. And let's have a listen to exactly what Stoltenberg said in the capital, Kyiv, earlier today.
Let me be clear. Ukraine's rightful place is in the Euro-Atlantic family. Ukraine's rightful place is in NATO. And over time, our support will help you make this possible.
We've also got this anticipated spring offensive. What else is Zelenskyy requesting from NATO beyond membership, of course?
Well, as you can imagine, Zelensky's continued his demands for more weapons. We've already seen tens of billions of dollars worth of Western kit flooding into this country over recent months. And we know that certainly there are thousands of Ukrainian soldiers that have been pouring into the Donbass region and the south in recent weeks in preparation for this expected so-called spring counter-offensive. So, yes, Zelenskyy asking for more weapons. The Ukrainians have been pretty candid, certainly saying that there are huge holes in their ability to defend the skies. Interestingly, yesterday, Germany confirmed that its pledged Patriot missile system, the second Patriot missile system, the first one being American, has now arrived in Ukraine. But that is nowhere near enough. We know that the Ukrainians are demanding, for example, more fighter jets and more surface-to-air missiles to try and protect their skies. So, yes, weapons like this very much at the forefront of the agenda today. It's going to be very interesting indeed to see what happens tomorrow, Thursday, when NATO officials meet in the German Ramstein airbase to discuss giving more weapons to Ukraine in the light of it widely expected for this counter-offensive to start in the coming weeks and months.
All right, thanks so much. Charles Stratford there. Hungary has banned the import of some meat products from Ukraine as part of efforts to protect Hungarian farmers. It's in addition to its existing ban on grain imports from Ukraine. Poland, Slovakia and Bulgaria have introduced similar bans after a fall in prices triggered protests from local farmers. But shipments are allowed through the countries en route to other markets. So Masha Belikova is a reporter at Fast Markets Agri-Census. She joins us now from Dnipro in Ukraine. Good to have you with us. So Ukraine's neighbours, they've imposed these grain bans, antagonising the EU. Has this resolved, do you think, the issue, or is it just the beginning of more complications?
Hello. So in fact, even there is a ban for imports from Ukraine, the countries has agreed that, like every country, Bulgaria, Poland, Hungary, Romania, Slovakia, they all agree that transit is still going on. And there is also a final decision from the European Commission expected, because those countries are not really able to act like this and do such new rules, new rules, for imports, like individuals. So everything that is done in the bloc has to be decided in Brussels. But what we see from Ukrainian perspective, of course, it has already created the queues on the borders, and it has already caused some losses for the people, for the traders who have been delivering the grains by the trucks and by wagons. Because, for example, for Bulgaria, the wagons and the trucks are staying on the border for almost 3 weeks already, because Bulgaria has introduced higher control, so they are checking the quality for the grain, and this is, of course, not good for our trade, our Ukrainian market. But I don't really think they're going to ban, and this is not exactly my idea, but what the trade think about this. And of course, it's not really going to affect the European prices as well, because the stocks for the grains were already high in the European Union. And currently the whole market, the global market, have been on the downside. So, and many of the main buyers are covered for a few months already. So it's not really something that we're going to expect, the increase of the prices in European countries that will allow their farmers to sell at higher prices.
All right, but we're already seeing, as you mentioned, trucks, trains, carriages piling up at the border. How is that hurting Ukrainian farmers and the Ukrainian economy if it can't get grain out?
It's a tricky question because on one side, if you're talking about the whole country and the whole export, the export for transit, mainly, that was going from Ukraine to the European countries, is only around 23% of the whole grain, not really grain, but agriculture product that is going out of Ukraine. And Romania's share is something around 16%, and most of that is going through barges from Danube. So from this perspective, it's not really that big amount. But of course, for the traders and for the farmers who have been oriented for European market and who have been selling there, of course, for them, it's a big issue for now because they are just facing this. And this is not something that our farmers happy to see, because the prices on the domestic market in Ukraine have been already pretty low.
And it's not just grain now. Hungary's increased the number of Ukrainian goods which are banned from being sold domestically to 25 items. How much of a worrying development is that for the Ukrainian economy?
Well, for sure, it would be, for sure, it's not something that we are happy to see, especially as there are also some challenges that Ukraine is facing regarding the grain corridor, because inspections are not going the way they want, the way they have to be. So all these bans and restrictions in European Union, together with all this uncertainty with the Black Sea corridor, of course, that's all causing some worries and concerns. I can't really tell you what is the loss if there would be stoppage of not just grain, but all their agriculture products that they are going to ban for import now into Europe, because it's not something I do follow. But yeah, of course, it's some money, and all the money that Ukraine is losing now is hurting us, because our economy is not in a very good position because of the war.
Maybe we should also talk about why we saw prices start to crash for grain in some of these neighboring countries that surround Ukraine.
So it's not the, well, if we start from the beginning, when the war just started last year, the prices for all the grain commodities have been reaching the new highs, like ever high levels. Of course, because the whole Black Sea region, which is one of the key regions, especially for the wheat production and exports, have been affected. And from the beginning, when it was when Ukraine was just figuring out how to manage the export, Romania, Bulgaria, and some other countries have been using this situation and have been selling at much better prices. Not just those countries, but all the countries in the world who were able to cover the demand. And the prices started to fall when the corridor GU was signed, but actually they started to fall even before because it was already something that people were believing in. So the optimism about this grain deal was increasing, so and pushing down the prices. Also for wheat, especially, one of the main things that also affected the prices was when Russia in last
last year. I'm afraid we are running out of time, so we'll have to leave it there. Masha Belikova, thank you so much.